All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let me pull this up here. All right. So let's see. Real quick, I will. Yes. Pull this up. There we go. All right. So let's see. This looks like it. And all right. So last time we talked about lead time. Do you recall what lead time
Mm-hmm.
means? Okay. Can you explain it to me, or
Uh,
give me an
the lead,
example?
yes, the lead time is when we order the goods. So we would like to know the lead time of the production and the delivery date.
Mhm.
Mhm. It start from the um, when the suppliers receive our down payment
Mhm.
or purchase order.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay. Very good. That's right. All right, and we discussed the role of another thing you might call. I know at least in the tech sector,
Yes,
they call them a C level.
sea level.
Yeah, when they're talking about executives like the CEO or the CTO, the Chief Technology Officer, and the C level executives. So, and we talked briefly about the COO position, which your company doesn't have, but that is the Chief Operating Officer.
Mm-hmm.
And the Chief Operating Officer is what role would the Chief Operating Officer, what would his duties be?
Um, the COO is control the operation
Mm-hmm.
and uh, manage management
Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
for the operation.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now I've got another student and another adult student on the Saturday class. So one of the terms I used with her for her, was the deputy, or to dep
Deputy.
or to
Ah,
or to deputize.
mm-hmm.
So you might hear this term in the workplace as well, right? Or sometimes in work, you unofficially get deputized, or you become a deputy, or like the person in charge of something, even though it's not your in your job description, but the boss needs you to do something, or they rely on you because you have a talent for it. So, how about in your work? Has anybody become an unofficial deputy or leader of some sort in some area?
Yes, we have the deputy managing director.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Because the owner is managing director
Mm-hmm.
and um, owner wife
Mm-hmm.
the deputy managing director.
Ah, I think that would be difficult. Uh, Only because my stepfather and uh, my mother got involved with his business, and she was kind of like the deputy managing director, and it was not good. But how is your owner's wife? If it's okay for me to ask, is she kind? Does everybody like her?
Yes,
Okay.
she's kind,
Is more.
and uh, the owner is aggressive and very hard.
Mhm. So
So her wife,
his wife.
uh, his wife is follow is following their command. His command.
Right. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So that's what we call a juxtaposition. You compare two. A juxtaposition's just a fancy word for comparing two things,
Mm-hmm.
but you use it when you compare two things that are not alike. Like he's aggressive and she's kind, and
Uh,
right. So they are opposites, you could say.
oh,
And pardon me.
yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And what was I going to say? So they've got another term, a more slang type of term. You could say that she is the good cop and he is the bad cop.
Cop. What do you mean about cop?
Like a cop is a term.
Police.
Yes, police. So you
Oh.
have the good cop and the bad cop. So the good cop is like the nice cop. Is like, come on, I want to help you, even though they just want to get information about the crime. They're still going to arrest you and send you to jail, but
Mm-hmm.
the way they talk to you is nice and polite and respectful, right?
Is
But
it slang? Is
yeah, it's kind of slang, but you can use it. You can use it. It's not like dirty slang, It's not like low class slang. People are
mm.
going to understand. Like you might have to um you could use it in business. Eh,
Because you don't want to mean about the cop, the real cop, but it's like a compare like a cop, right? That is it.
Well, in the context, it's not. We know you're not. We know you're not being a cop, but like if you're, say for example, you're on a sales team, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you're not really sure. Like you send two salespeople or three salespeople to go in and and uh, and try to make the sale. So, all right, and you might have a discussion with your team before, like, all right, maybe one person is good at presentation and
Mm-hmm.
someone's good at like warming up the other one, and then the other one and the second one is good at uh, kind of warming them up and feeling them out,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe getting the sale done, but then maybe and then they have what's called a closer, right? And the closers are usually more aggressive if they need, and they'll send a closer in if they need it, and the closer would kind of be like the bad cop and be like, "Look, this is our final offer." That's the best. They're aggressive in their sales approach if they need to close a deal. Um, they, they, so you could define those salespeople as you've got the good cop and the bad cop.
Mm-hmm.
They may even just label themselves like, all right, I'm going to be the bad cop. I'll come in there. I'll come in there hard, and then depending on the situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that sales team will put the aggressive, give them the bad cop first. So then and then because they know the psychology of the buyer, and then they don't like the bad cop, and then they want somebody to listen to them more, and they
Mm-hmm.
can talk, and then you can send the good cop, and you're like, yeah, that's okay. I want to help you. Don't worry about him. He's new, or say something like that. But it's all planned out. So anyway, yeah. So we've got that's just a term we use to refer to an aggressive sales versus like a soft sales position, but you can refer to it pretty much in any sort of management role as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that. It's surprising to me. Oftentimes in companies, it's the deputy director that is the bad cop. So, but it's the opposite in your company. So, okay. All right. Well, let's see now. And, okay. All right. So here we go. And we're back at our terms. We did best and final offer before. And we did, you know what a bid is already. We talked about bid security or a bid bond at length. A bidder, a proposer, and an offerer. So, and model, that should be a model. Correct that for them. A model that submits an offer in response to solicitation. Normally, the term bidder is used to refer to the model responding to an ITB, RFQ, or electronic auction. The term proposer is used to refer to the model responding to an RFP. I don't know what that is, so let's go ahead and continue here. A bill of lading. I remember that from a job I had like more than 20 years ago. We had bills of lading. A bill of lading is a carrier's contract and receipt for goods. It agrees to transport from one place to another and deliver to the designated recipient, the consignee. All right, and that's when I used to work when I was about 18 years old. I used to work for a warehouse for, we call it HVAC for short, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, HVAC. So I would deliver big compressors and things that had to do with heating and ventilation to different construction sites, companies, whatever. And that's what I would have because I was delivering them. I had the bill of lading. I was carrying and delivering the receipts. So that's all that refers to. So the bill of, so in your business, I assume if you have somebody in your company delivering, they would carry the bill of lading, or if you have a courier or a freight forwarder or something like that, they would manage the bill of lading. Yeah. So okay. Bill of quantities is a description and a quantitative. That just means you can count it. It's quantifiable. So a bill of quantities is, to make it simple, it's going to say I ordered 100 boxes of face masks with a, or maybe it's designated as a 100 boxes of 100 count face masks. So that would be 1,000 face masks in total. That's what you should receive. A description and quantitative estimate of all materials and or supplies which will be required for a proposed construction project or production of equipment, usually custom designed, provided to bidders for pricing purposes. Okay, so it's exactly what it says there. So when you build a house, you want to get a bill of quantities, or you want to supply a bill of quantities for your bidders, or who would be the builders of that house. So now with you have the factories, right? So you might deal with a bill of quantities if somebody's looking for a bid. If a company's looking for an OEM bid on something that you produce. Okay. All right. Blanket purchase order. Blanket purchase order, a special purchase order typically designed to leverage repetitive requirements
Mm-hmm.
and emergency repairs involving low value goods and services while reducing the administrative workload. Okay. I think I understand what that means. What about you, however? What does that mean to you when you read it?
I think the blanket order is like they um, the customer order send the purchase order, but um, to guarantee that they will be ordered, but they are not sure when they want to get the goods, so they will send the blanket order.
I think it could be used. Yeah, I think it could be used as a way that it could be used. Maybe they're not sure about when they want it, but they know they're going to want the goods, so they'll just give you a blanket order so you can get it done. It could probably be used in that way. Again, this is your industry, so and then some of the key words here is designed to leverage repetitive requirements and
Leverage.
yeah. So, like, say for example, you need for to produce face masks, you need the elastic bands, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a low quality good. It's not something of high value. Uh, even in production, you're gonna maybe lose about 10% of the elastic bands. For I'm just random numbers though. That's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So. Um, you might just make a blanket order for the elastic bands uh, so that you don't have to keep sending out small purchase orders again and again, and then because the idea is to reduce the administrative workload, right? So this.
Oh, when is it like when you open the order like 10 ton for like for example like a um the yarn, the material, like you want to order 10 tons, but one I mean 10,000
Mhm.
kilograms, but you don't want it for one delivery, so you make a partial shipment for the big quantity
Sure.
like this.
Yeah, I think you could use. Yeah, you could make the blanket purchase order that way. And then you can just say, look, we're ordering this one, and send us, in the bill of lading, how much is left in this particular order or something like that, to help, because then you don't want to keep making that same order when all right, well, this month we're going to use 4 tons, and then next month, yeah. So
Yes. Uh-huh.
okay.
So maybe you can tell the suppliers that we ordered and make the partial for shipment
Hmm.
like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's pretty clever. I think you got it. better you
Mhm.
better than I do.
Yeah.
You know your business. Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right. The buyer, that's pretty self-explanatory, but we'll read that as well. The individual or personnel designated by an authorized official to undertake all activities necessary for the procurement of goods, works, or services in accordance with the applicable regulations, rules, policies, and procedures. The term buyer is also used to denote the UN model that is party to the contract. Okay, so this is pretty self-explanatory. This bit here, I think,
Mhm.
the first bit. but this might be useful for us to know. To denote the UN model is a party to the contract.
Also used to denote.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand the denote.
Denote means to like make a note of something, right? So
A note.
so the UN model, what they're talking about is when
UN.
the United Nations, when for the United Nations model, that like they use the term buyer, like to say that this person is a party, like I'm not just the authorized personnel, but this is like my contract, right? So all right. That I have an interest in the contract, in the business sense of the word. Okay, next is catalog, an organized list of goods or services specifying the description, price, unit of measure, and other attributes. A catalog may be available as a document or in electronic format. How about that? Does your company have a catalog?
Yes.
Hmm?
Yes, we have a catalog, like a made by the paper and electronic format as well.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And sometimes they can go to our website,
Mm-hmm.
company website,
Mm-hmm.
and can see from that. Hmm.
Good. All right, now here we go. This is an interesting term we've got here: collaborative procurement and common procurement. So that sounds interesting to me. Collaborative
Collaborate.
procurement. A procurement arrangement in which several UN organizations combine their efforts to undertake procurement in cooperation or share the outcome of a procurement process, thereby achieving benefits for the group in its entirety. The objective of collaborative procurement is to achieve reduced price or better service through economies of scale and to reduce inefficiency and duplication across the UN organizations. Okay. Does that make sense to you? The
Collaborate. Difficult to say.
co-
Collaboration.
collaborative.
Collaborative. Collaborative.
Yeah.
Collaborative.
So if I say it quickly, I'll say collaborative.
Collaborative.
Yes.
Collaborative.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so actually, I think we discussed this in one of our classes already, but we didn't have this term. We had not learned this term yet, or at least I had not learned this term yet. I think I asked you if your boss or if your company ever, if you have like a network of other companies or professionals that you can get better prices with or get the goods that you need for a product if you can collaborate with them or work together. But this isn't so. But now we have the term for it: collaborative procurement. Do you ever engage in any collaborative procurement with friendly businesses or even competitors?
Mm, collaborated for a business. Um, I collect that it's like a joint venture. Joint venture.
Yeah, it would be similar to a joint venture. A joint venture has a little bit more,
Collaborative.
yeah,
Agreement.
a joint ventures has a little bit more commitment to it, though, I think, than this. Like you're just talking about this is specifically procurement, like getting goods that you need. So, um, so you just to get a reduced price. Like so, for example, I've got a lot of friends in Bangkok that own restaurants, and it makes it drives me crazy that they don't leverage their buying power through collaborative procurement. They're all paying big money for the ingredients that they use. It comes from the USA or Europe or wherever. And I thought to myself, well, why don't they all get together and find out what they all use that's the same and order from one company the same quality product that they're all using already? Then that would be an example of collaborative procurement, and then they could all save money and and profit more. But they don't do that because they're dumb.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so yeah, so it's just to get it, it's just to get lower price. So you would be part of an a, a joint
Yeah.
if we were talking about a joint venture, that means more you've got a vested interest, like if in the company, in the outcome of the venture being successful. Like if you and I were to go open up a restaurant together now, that would be a joint venture, and
Mm-hmm.
there would be more at stake for you. There would be more at stake for me because we've invested money in this. This is just about buying stuff and getting buying power, right? Like I need soap to take a bath. You need soap to take a bath, right? So we decide to get together
To get
and
a big volume,
yes.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's the idea behind collaborative procurement. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, anyway, so
So we have a big volume, then we can bargain in the price.
you can get a lower price. Yeah, you get a big volume indeed. So now your boss lets you do things pretty autonomously, right? Mm.
Yes.
So what? So you get to. So what do you think he would be happy if you did this autonomously, some collaborative procurement with other companies that,
Mm,
or would he think you're helping the competition?
yes, if I can, but I don't have an idea how to do the collaborative procurement now.
Yeah, it would take some cold calling, is I think the term they use for it, where you just have to call up a cold calling is they usually use that with sales pitch in the sales department. It's when you just find a random number, you don't know anything about the customer, and you call them up and you say, "Hi, I'm Nicholas, and I sell encyclopedias.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to buy encyclopedias for you?"
Mm-hmm.
And then they say no, because you
Mm-hmm.
don't know anything about them. That's why that's what a cold call is. Um,
Yeah, I think about it. I got it. My boss have some business society,
mhm,
like they call BNI group, and this group would have many company that they will join together,
mhm,
and they will exchange. And when they have a network and they know each other,
Mm-hmm.
and like our company selling the gloves and other company doing freight forwarder,
Mm-hmm.
and then when they have a network, then they will introduce each other to maybe have a chance to work together, but it's not like a collaborative procurement, right?
Yeah, well, that's sort of, that might be more along the lines of one hand feeding the other, right? Like, so your company, you know,
Mm,
so your company sells the gloves,
mm-hmm,
so maybe you get that supply, you know, maybe it goes all the way down to the farmer that they all know, the rubber tree farmer. And
mm-hmm,
you say, okay, well, this guy owns, this is our friend Sung. She owns the rubber farms. We're gonna buy rubber from her. We know we're gonna get a good deal from her. It's a good product from her, and then
mm-hmm,
we're gonna sell the rubber to the factory. Okay,
mm-hmm,
and then the factory, because this is our friend, we know he makes the quality products that we want, and then so they're passing the money down one hand, feeding the other hand. And then they keep passing it all the way down the supply chain from the farm to the factory to the to the distributor to the retail outlets, something like that.
mm-hmm,
Okay, but I think you understand what collaborative procurement is.
mm-hmm.
So, all right. Next is competitive bidding. I'm sure you're very familiar with this term.
Yes.
So, all right. Yeah. So you gotta do that. Consignment, though. Have you heard this term before?
Silent.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Consignment. So this is actually something we have consignment stores in the USA where people maybe they don't have the place to sell their old things, but they're still good condition and still very valuable. So they'll say, okay, the consignment store will lease you space like for a low amount of money, and you can keep your item for sale in the store, and
Mm-hmm.
then they take a commission off the sale if it ever does sell. So, uh,
Like like a Shopee, and Shopee.
I know it. I've never shopped. I've never used it though.
Is it the same?
I don't know how Shopee operates. So
And Lazada.
Lazada is
Oh.
a little bit. It's not consignment so much. Well,
Mm,
actually, I think probably that's a good way of describing what Lazada does. And even Amazon to a certain degree. But Amazon, you have to send your product to them,
mhm,
whereas and they'll fulfill the order because they manage the stock and everything like that.
mm.
I think with Lazada, I've ordered from them before. You're getting their Lazada is just connecting you to the seller
Ah,
directly.
yes,
Yeah.
right. And what about the Amazon? Amazon.com is consignment,
Um,
but they have to send the product.
they don't. Yeah, because they don't
And,
make anything. Well, they
mm-mm.
do. Amazon does make some things, but mostly it's just a. Um, mostly they are a space where sellers can put their things, and those sellers, in order for Amazon to function the way it does, the what they sell the best is their service. Like if you order Amazon Prime, I'm an Amazon Prime member. In the U.S., I can get my package in many times the very next day. It doesn't. So that's like a big part of the service there, and so that's why they're providing the space for consignment, and but they also have warehouses and fulfillment centers that you would have if you want to sell your gloves on Amazon. You would have to send gloves to the Amazon warehouse for them to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's the way it works.
Or maybe
But
if we if we if we are not send the goods to the warehouse, but we just try to sell on the website, and when the customer order, after that we deliver the goods after we got the order, right? So we don't need to send the products to the warehouse, but we just sell like a online to just for electronic present, like an electronic catalog on
yeah,
the website.
you can have it on the website too. I'm not sure how all the Amazon sellers work or even Lazada sellers, but I think some of them maintain their websites as well. The thing is with Lazada and Amazon and even Shopee, it's the
Uh,
benefit of listing your stuff there is because they've got a large proportion of the market share's attention. Like people say,
mm,
I'm gonna go shopping today. I know I can find nitrile gloves
mm-hmm.
on Amazon right now. I mean, we can here. Let's watch. Boom.
And
I just typed
okay.
in Amazon, and here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Where's that? Boom. You see, you can start out. There we go. I can get latex gloves instantly. It's not that I know I could look at the company's name, but I can just go here very easily, very conveniently. And also, your company doesn't have the logistics that Amazon or Lazada, well, maybe compared to Lazada, because Lazada takes a long time for delivery. But with a company
Mm-hmm.
like Amazon, as a Prime member, I can get my most of my items in 2 to 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the draws, one of the services they do. So
However, for the consignment, it's mean supplier need to stock the goods, right?
yes, and then you agree. The seller agrees to sell them, and they'll take a commission out of it.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
The difference with Amazon, I know though, is they kind of have more power than
Yes.
the seller. They'll say you can list your gloves, but you can't sell them for more than this much because that's just how it works. So,
I have an example like when someone wants to sell, if they can make a lot of face mask and they want to sell, maybe they don't have a store or don't have the website. They come to my company and let us um, um, let us promote and sell their product on website.
mhm.
And we when our my company can sell, then we pay for the goods after we can sell.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that is an excellent example. That might maybe that's something. Maybe that's a project you can do in your inside your company.
Yeah.
Make your boss happy. Be like, wow, she's aggressive. Okay. All right, I'll just read the definition real quick, though. An agreement with a supplier to stock goods at a customer's location, with the goods remaining the property of the supplier until used or sold. A shipment that is handed over to a common carrier for transport and delivery. So this is something I used to do because I love to cook. Um, and I worked as I would make pastries and desserts and things like that here in Bangkok, and
Mhm.
I would make relationships with the coffee shops, and I would do the desserts for the coffee shops, and they said, well, how much? And I said, we'll do it on consignment, so if you sell it, you pay me,
Mhm.
and but don't. I would tell them, don't, after like 3 days, throw it away. Don't sell it. I'll take the loss. Doesn't bother me because I don't want that. You don't want people getting sick from the food you make. you
Mhm.
make. So
Mhm.
I tell them, after 3 days, that's the shelf life. Get rid of it.
Mhm.
Don't sell it anymore. So
Because it's already expired.
yes, yes, and you don't want, like, yeah. So so yeah, that was a pretty simple agreement I had with the coffee shops. I would just sell on consignment, and then they were nice about it. It's whatever, I forgot what it was. You would only take like 10 or 20 baht from each dessert, so it was a pretty good deal.
Mhm.
Anyway, um, contract. We know what contracts are here.
Yes.
Even you and I, we have a contract together. It's
Yes.
a very loose contract at this point. But yeah, so in the context of UN procurement, a contract is a written, legally binding agreement between the organization and a supplier which establishes the terms and conditions, including the rights and obligations of the organization and the supplier. A contract may take many different forms, for example, agreement, purchase order, memorandum of understanding, and letters of assist. So those seem like they're all pretty important terms, and I don't know well, no, no, no. You are dealing internationally, so these are probably applicable terms for you because you're procuring stuff from international sources. Um, so I would think that's pretty important. Agreement, purchase order, memorandum of understanding, and letters of assist. So that's pretty interesting there. With the agreement, that's kind of wide open to me. I don't know exactly what they mean by that because the agreement can be a lot. There can be a lot. There can be a written agreement. In the U.S., for example, in certain places, um, a verbal agreement can be just as strong as a contract, right? If if I say, for example, I'm going to clean your house, and I give you the price of, I give you, I give you the price, and you agree upon it, and you don't pay me that price when we're done, then I could potentially take you to court and get my money, and then even more money because you're taking up the court's time by not honoring the verbal agreement. So
But the verbal agreement don't have an evidence.
not yeah. So it's up to the if it ends up. So a verbal, I don't know. You probably don't deal with verbal agreements a whole lot. I don't know how much power they have in Thai law. So, but they do have power. It depends on where you are in the U.S. too, but they do have power there. No one, like, if you end up in a situation where you're in court fighting over the intent of a verbal agreement with somebody, the judge is going to look, and oftentimes they'll actually side with the worker because the workers are giving, you know, as long as the worker isn't claiming that, oh, she told me she would give me 1 million baht for cleaning her house for one day. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The judge would look at that and go, that's ridiculous. That's not anywhere close to market value. Um, and what we're like, you can't demand that much money from them, and they would know. But if you said, look, she asked me to clean her house. I said I'd do it for 2,000 baht to clean her whole house. I'll spend the whole day cleaning her house. The judge might say, maybe it's a little high, but maybe her house is big, or maybe her house is really dirty, or whatever. So they'll say, yeah, that's a reasonable amount. They're not going to think that the worker is telling a story just to try to get money. They'll look at the intent, and then they'll ask questions like, did you go to the house? Yes, I did. Did you clean the house? Yes. And they'll ask the defendant, did they clean the house? And then the defendant, you see it sometimes, and they'll say, yeah, but when he worked there all day, and then when I looked under the fridge, under the refrigerator, I saw he hadn't cleaned there, even though he worked everywhere else the whole day. And the judge would be like, huh? Because you missed under the fridge, and you can't use that as an excuse, to not pay them. So verbal agreements do carry some weight in the U.S. I don't know about Thailand, and I don't know about as it pertains to this term. We know what agreement means, but it's being used very broadly here, I think. So, but in business, people tend to try to stay away from verbal agreements, just because it's safer that way. It's very difficult to prove when you're dealing with lots of money.
Right.
So.
Right.
Contract administrations, all actions undertaken after the award of a contract relating to the administrative aspects of the contract, such as contract amendment, contract closure, record retention, maintenance of the contract, and handling of security instruments. For example, performance security.
Security.
Any question?
Maintenance of contract file. Record retention. It's like how to how to manage the contract.
Basically, yeah, it's all the paperwork you deal with after you've agreed, you've awarded the contract. It's all the paperwork and all the other steps that, like, if you, like, for example, like we talked about the blanket order earlier, right? So, all right, so, if you awarded a contract for a blanket order, for example, okay, so then it would be making sure all of these terms here are met or taken care of, like record retention. So you've gotten you got, if it's a blanket order, it's probably just one purchase order, but then then you're gonna have to file each bill of lading after that, and if you have changes to the contract, such as an amendment, okay, then filing those away, paperwork, contract administration,
Okay.
right?
Everything and every record should be
put in a file in its
alright.
appropriate place, and that includes like phone calls. I've worked in positions before where we had to keep a log of our phone calls, because we would have a contract with is my stepfather's company. It was a civil engineering company, and so anytime we worked on a project, we would have, even if it was just to call the client, those were billable hours. So we would have to keep a record of the time we spent calling on the phone with the client, because we would be billing them for that time, and that was part of the contract. So.
Mm-hmm.
And lawyers and attorneys in America do that often too. They'll keep records of their phone calls because that's part of their contracts, and their contract administration is they charge billable hours for looking up information on the internet, sending emails even. So yeah, a little bit different, but you get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right, and the last one for tonight is contract management. The ongoing monitoring and management of the supplier's performance regarding the promised goods or services, as well as assuring compliance with all other terms and conditions of a contract, such as price and discounts. It includes managing the relationship between the supplier, the procuring unit, the requisitioner, and the inducer. Feedback to the supplier regarding its performance, as well as dispute resolution if necessary. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty straightforward there. Dispute resolution is if there's a dispute about the contract, that's a he said, she said sort of thing between the uh, between the buyer and the procurer and the buyer and the supplier. So the supplier may say, "I did send them on time. It's not my fault that they're late. It is the freight forwarder's fault because they messed up in their time, right?" So you might have to resolve that conflict, right? And say, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so you didn't violate the contract. We got to talk to the freight forwarder then, and that's something else." Price and discounts, managing the relationship between the supplier and procuring unit. So that I guess this would be you right here, the procuring unit. All right. So who in your company is it their duty to fulfill contract management?
If the procurement, if the if the purchase department, the procurement is contact management
Mm-hmm.
to monitor the suppliers to follow the contract, and 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 responsible for the agreement as we deal in a contract. Right? And
Okay, so you're in charge of managing the contracts in your company, as far as procurement is concerned. Is that what you're saying?
I um I think um the procurement, every procurement have to manage their own contract.
So you're not the only one.
Yes, if the procurement for local products,
Mm-hmm.
they have to manage their contact to their suppliers in
Mm-hmm.
local. And like me, if I import the products, buy the products from overseas, so I have to management my contract
Mm-hmm. You have to
with the foreign suppliers.
Okay, interesting. Interesting. So we got quite a number of benchmarks. I'd like to talk about this more the next time I see you, because
Mm-hmm.
I think this fits into your job description very well here. So we can look at all of these different benchmarks here, and we can discuss this as well. There's or these attributes rather of contract management. So you've got to, for example, you've got to monitor the supplier's performance, right?
Yes,
Okay.
to deliver the goods
Mm-hmm.
according to the purchase order.
And then assuring compliance, making sure it's all legal, uh, and it's also complying with the terms of the contract.
Yes,
So, um,
and the payment
mhm.
term on
Price
a contract.
and price,
Yes.
and it also includes managing a relationship between the supplier and
Mm-hmm.
so that's what you definitely do. The requisitioner, I don't know if that, and the inducer. So we'll have to talk more about that. There's a lot of talking points there. We could learn a lot about your job. I could learn a lot about your job from you if we discuss
Mm-hmm.
this. But we're gonna have to do that tomorrow, and it's 10 o'clock now. So I
Yes.
will see you tomorrow. Get some good rest, Miss Sue.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye
See
bye.
you tomorrow. Bye.
Won't my mommy be so fine?
Okay, Carl, so what's your favourite Family Guy joke?
The fact that it's still on the air. Family Guy is the comedic equivalent of fast food in that it's cheaply made and little to no thought is given to its contents. Perhaps nothing encapsulates this more than the time. Instead of writing an actual original joke, the production team of Family Guy just lifted a video from YouTube wholesale and then accused the person who did that of ripping them off.
Okay, so to start with, that sounds like a dick move, so what's going on?
Well, the story to this goes all the way back to the halcyon days of 2016. Do you remember 2016, Nisha, where we thought that was the worst life could get? And the world was just terrible and all the celebrities were dying. We thought, it can only get better from here. And we fast forward to 2020 and 2/3 of the world catches on fire and the rest of it gets sick. Anyway, in 2016, there was an episode of Family Guy in which the characters of Peter Griffin and Cleveland Brown play the game Double Dribble for the NES.
Alright, so that's the setup of the episode. What actually happens during it, though?
Well, what happens is that Peter and Cleveland are playing Double Dribble, and Peter exploits a well-known glitch in the game that allows you to sink a three-pointer every single time, as long as you stand on the exact right point on the court. And while he's discussing this very well-known glitch, just footage of the game plays.
All right, bring it up to court. And corner three! No, that's what I'm talking about. Steal. Up, corner three!
Well, I know Family Guy is known for cutaway gags that last for ages. So how
Often
long
too
does this
long,
scene? How long does this scene actually last?
Well, this joke, and I'm making big air quotes, Nisha, I know you can't see me because you're far away at the moment, but it goes on for a solid minute, during which they just show footage of the game Double Dribble. as like, you know, Peter and Cleveland talk over it and they discuss this glitch at length. And you just have Peter just sinking 3-pointer after 3-pointer, literally virtually dunking on Cleveland, much to his annoyance.
There was one episode or one cutaway gag which probably people don't find funny, but I thought it was quite funny at the time, which I always remember, is where Peter's stuck behind Robert Loggia.
Oh, R for Robert Loggia. Yeah, I know that one. It's not funny, but I remember it.
Because I quite like stuff with, like, there's, like, repetitive jokes. I mean, some don't work.
Oh, you must love Family Guy, then.
Some gags in it, I'm just like, yeah, okay, that's not that funny, but it has its moments.
Yeah. I contend there's only one good, like, padding for time joke in that entire, like, you know, show, and it is the one of Peter trying to get the dead frog out of a window. It's the one where, like, he's got a frog in a box and it's dead and he's trying to get it out of a window and he's just, like, picking it with a box and trying to flip it out. Just something about it is, it's not funny at first, but then it goes on for so long it starts being funny, and that's probably because that joke is essentially just a rip-off of the most famous example of that, which is the one in The Simpsons, of Sideshow Bob stepping on the rake.
Oh, yeah.
Where
he steps on the rake and he just makes that noise.
And he steps on, I think it's 11 rakes in a row, and the reason that joke exists is because, again, they needed to pad for time, and someone just had the suggestion of, why don't you just make, like, you know, Sideshow Bob step on 11 rakes? And their reasoning was that stepping on 1 rake's funny, stepping on 5 rakes isn't funny, but by the time he gets to the 11th rake, it starts being funny again.
Yeah, this just happened so many times, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and then I think just Family Guy saw that and went, oh my god, yeah, we can just be really lazy and just put an entire minute of our episode on one joke. That's not funny.
I was just going to say, I think my favourite joke from Family Guy is, I think there's like really quick cutaway clip where Peter's like, I forgot how to sit, and he just face plants a chair.
I think the joke that made me laugh the most, it's like early season Family Guy, and it was actually like pretty good. And it's just, oh man, this reminds me of like how World War II started or something. And it's just like a really weedy Hitler trying to lift tiny weights, like, and he looks over and sees this huge buff Jewish guy just going, ha 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 ha, all women on his arm. It's so stupid and so surreal and dark. I kind of love it. But in that vein, Nisha, speaking like, you know, jokes that aren't funny and go on way too long, what is like the example of that sticks out most in your mind? Because I have one, and I think when I mention it, the people who are aware of it will go, oh my god, I erased that from my mind.
If we're like, I don't know if you're sticking to the Family Guy theme, but the one that I don't find funny is when him and that chicken just keep beating each other up.
Do you not find that funny then?
No, not really. A lot of people might like it, but I'm just like, kind of got like sick of seeing it because it happens so often in so many different episodes.
The joke I'm going to mention, and this is one where it is the only time I have ever contemplated walking out of a cinema, and it is in the movie 43. Do you recall this movie at all, Nisha?
Yes. Oh my, yeah. Like you said, I forgot about that film.
Do you know which joke specifically I'm talking about? When I say the words, it goes on too long and it's just not funny.
The one that I remember the most is, I think it's the first joke with
Hugh Jackman's got balls on his chin, yeah. Well, that's the thing is, though, that's okay. But the one that I'm talking about tonight, it's the one where like it's painfully unfunny, is where it's Robin goes on a date. Like, don't worry, folks, here's a clip showing how good the jokes are in that scene.
Hey, where you been? Hi, how you doing? You missed your meeting with your parole officer.
Parole officer?
Hmm? No? Yeah, this guy got in some trouble a while back for whipping out his little Dick Grayson on a playground.
And now imagine that for 10 straight minutes. It is exactly as painfully unfunny as you imagine. It's the only time I've ever contemplated walking out of a film because it was just so bad and so unfunny.
Moving it back to Family Guy episode, where did they get this game footage from? Because I'm assuming they didn't make it themselves.
Of course they didn't, Nisha, because that would require time and effort and skill. What they did instead was they hopped onto YouTube and got a video demonstrating the glitch by a user called Switched, with a 1 instead of an I. Just downloaded that and then put it into the episode in its entirety. And if you're currently thinking, oh, man, that's a really fucking lazy solution to get footage for that joke, it gets just a little bit worse, because if you type in on YouTube just double dribble glitch, it is literally the first result that you get, which means that the production team of Family Guy couldn't even scroll down to the bottom of the page to see if there was any other results. They just used the one at the top of the search. And it gets just a little bit worse because in addition to not telling the guy that they were going to use his footage, and they didn't credit him either, presumably because they thought, well, it's footage of a game. And I know this is a big argument around copyright of okay, is footage of gameplay copyrightable? And I'm not sure where on it I lie. I think a cutscene, if you just upload a cutscene, that's fair enough. But if you have gameplay, the fact that your inputs are changing the way the game plays, however minuscule differences between people, I think at that point that's when you start to credit people. And if people have watched our videos, you'll notice that if we are directly referencing a game and we use a cutscene, we'll credit the people who made the game. But if we use actual gameplay, we'll credit the people who respond to that gameplay. Whereas Fox and the Family Guy makers, now fuck it, who gives a shit? It's just footage off YouTube. Just stick it wholesale in our episode. Bollocks to the guy who actually went out and demonstrated the glitch. And it gets just a little bit worse. Obviously, Nisha, now that footage is in an episode of Family Guy, that means Fox owns it, right?
Oh no.
Facts. Well, obviously, yeah, it's in the episode of Family Guy. So what happened was, despite that video being online for I think several years at that point, when that episode of Family Guy comes out, obviously, now the YouTube copyright robots have that footage in their repertoire and just copyright struck his video for ripping off Family Guy.
Oh, that's so stupid.
The same TV show that had just taken his footage wholesale and used it without any accreditation or permission.
Yeah, it's now their footage, and he's in the wrong for. He's obviously copying their joke.
Oh, he's stealing their footage, despite the fact that they took it from him, and it later emerged that no, it was a YouTube copyright robot that did it. Did you know that Family Guy actually did this twice?
So what you're saying is this happened not once but twice.
Yes, Nisha, and it happened in the same episode, because in that same episode they also used footage from the game Tecmo Bowl. And again, rather than go create the footage themselves or track it down or credit someone or something like that, no, they just went on YouTube, found a YouTube video with footage of the game in it, ripped it off wholesale and put it in the episode, and then that guy also got copyright struck.
Here we go. Bye-bye.
See, Peter, he's too fast.
I can't believe they did it in the same episode.
And that, to me, I think is just a summation of how lazy Family Guy got, and probably still is. I've not watched it in fucking years. They're just putting in minute-long clips off YouTube and getting the voice actors to just read lines over it. And as someone who's trying to break into that Let's Play world, yeah, I get it, but they pay millions of dollars per episode. And my favourite part is when Fox were reached out to for comment, they said, well, yeah, we're sorry, but it was an accident in our ongoing quest to stop piracy of Family Guy. And at no point did anyone involved display any sense of self-awareness about the fact that you are so aggressively pursuing your copyright that you are copyright striking stuff you don't own. And maybe that hints at a broken system being in place. No, we're not going to apologise for pursuing our own copyright. And ordinarily at this point in the video, I'd make an original observation or joke about how lazy the producers of Family Guy are. But instead, I'm going to take a leaf from their book and just steal content from someone else and paraphrase one of my favourite jokes from The Simpsons, which is to the producers and writers of Family Guy, I'll say this, writing jokes is difficult, right? No, it's easy. You suck. So Nisha, we've been on YouTube for a couple of years at this point now, and we have had several run-ins with the YouTube copyright robots, correct?
Yeah, quite a few times.
And I'm not even sure of how many videos have actually been copyright struck by YouTube, but my usual port of call, as mentioned earlier in the video, depending on how this video is edited and cut, I just take them down. Because you want to just educate the audience about what happens when a video gets a copyright strike on it.
Well, what happens is we upload a video and it goes up fine, and then the next minute we look at it and it's flagged for copyright, and it won't tell you what's wrong with it, but you have to ask for someone a manual check of it to make sure it is actually all right to be monetized. And majority of the time it's fine. Someone will check it over and it's fine, but they won't say what it is.
And they never provide a justification for the original claim. And what happens when a video gets a copyright claim against it is that you are not able to make money from that video, and instead all money made from a video goes to the person who filed the copyright claim. And as you might imagine, like lovely audience at home, that greatly incentivizes massive companies to just file false or spurious claims, because it allows them to just make free money off of other people's content. And for example, with us, that's why we just take the videos down, because I detest the idea that we put like a dozen, 2 dozen hours of work into making a video. We use 5 seconds of a clip from a film, which I will argue absolutely constitutes fair use. They get to make all the money from it. And for a little behind the scenes information that makes this just a little bit scummier, when a company files a copyright claim against your video, you have to file obviously a counterclaim and say, I believe this constitutes fair use. And the language of the menus you click through when doing that is incredibly frightening from someone who's maybe just making YouTube videos for fun, where it says stuff like, if it's found that your claim is without merit, your entire channel may be at risk. Which obviously, as just seeing that, a lot of people will just say, well, fuck it, just let them have the money. And I always fight it, because I know, no, fuck you. And you never get a justification from the company who file the claims, which is which is one of the things that pisses me off. The other thing that pisses me off, though, is that when YouTube, finally gets around to addressing a copyright claim, Nisha, for the audience at home, would you like to just let them know who YouTube goes to when the time comes to arbitrate on a decision of whether or not, something constitutes fair use?
Don't they go to the actual company who gave us the copyright strike?
And for anyone thinking that can't be true, I shit you not, YouTube's solution to companies filing copyright claims against videos is to let the company itself decide whether or not it constitutes fair use. And if they click a button that just says we don't agree, they get to continue taking all the money that video makes. And again, that highly incentivizes companies to always just click no. Why would they not? It's they're basically being asked, do you want to keep taking money that this video makes or not? And once the company clicks that, no, it's not fair use, you have no further recourse. You cannot take it further via, the means that YouTube provides, which is why at that point we just take the videos down. Or in the case of some older ones in the past, when we had time to upload more videos on a weekend and stuff, we just upload them with their content just really lazily censored. And I just thought people might be interested to find out that's how broken the copyright claim system is for YouTube.
I don't know, man. All I want to do is sleep.
With Matt Mitrione on the fence, Kimbo Slice worked through a hurt knee in hopes of a possible return to the cage.
I want to be the ultimate fighter.
If you don't want to fight, you came to the wrong place. Every time when I talk to guys and, I get pissed off and I get fired up, I can see the guys that are being affected by it and I can see the guys that aren't. There's a slot possibly open right now. There's somebody in this group that wants that opportunity. Somebody does. Whoever you are, I hope you get it. All right? Have a good day, boys. And I was surprised. Nobody was trying to step over Mitrione to get his spot. Nobody came to me and normally in those situations, when a guy comes to me and says, listen, Mitrione's saying he's this, he's that, he doesn't want to fight. Give me the fight. I want this thing. I'll give that guy the fight 10 out of 10 times. Nobody did that.
Hey, what's shaking, Doc?
Hey, man, I can hear you. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing well. Hey, just wanted to tell you, since today's pretty much our deadline, I feel great, man. I feel like my body's back in place, so.
Come on, brother. Take your move.
Break. You ready to fight?
Ready. Do it.
What's up, friends of the good food? This is Money, and welcome to the ultra fun bot in the game. It was just a matter of time before I made this video. I'm guessing you knew it was coming. The Cerberus with Vortex Thermite, and that's right, overdrive unit for 50% more. Boom. And boom is what we're gonna do here, because this is gonna be incredibly fun to play, man. Let's jump into Team Deathmatch and just rain havoc. And by the way, the second match is much more funny than the first one. The first one is very tactical and strategic and difficult, and the second one is just pure fun. So here we are in Team Deathmatch on a map that isn't necessarily perfect for Vortex and Thermite, but it can work rather well if we utilize that bridge, right? Shooting over the cover from behind that bridge or from underneath that bridge, that's gonna be good. Let's see if we can make that happen. One enemy spawned to our right. This guy there, and two. Now it's two enemies who are approaching us from down there. I have, as you see here, this energy shield that will protect me for a little while from incoming damage, so that these guys don't even want to shoot me. Right? So now I'm here, and we can have some fun from this point. Okay, this guy, he thinks he's safe, and boom, boom. Down to last stand immediately. If that is last stand, I'm not sure. And now I'm letting him get killed by the corrosion. Boop, that's it. The corrosion doesn't care about his resistance that he activated. So yeah, that was perfect. Okay, this guy's now flying over. Okay. We have this Vortex Spectre here, who seems very interested in just sitting around the corner. Okay. Lock this guy down. Oh, it's not a Vortex Spectre, it's a Tulumba Spectre. Ah, okay. So again, as always, guys, we have to take some damage in order to gain the added damage bonus for... wow, the damage we just did there, man. To gain the added damage bonus for the overdrive module. So they're shooting me, all of them here. Okay. We're blocking a lot of that away with our shielding, but not all of it. Okay. Here we go. Okay, I tried to suppress him, but that didn't work, unfortunately. But I hit him anyway. Whoa! 0 damage! Wow! Thank you, game. I love you. 0 damage. Fire. Okay, I think I got him with 1 hit before it was over. And the good thing is this guy can't actually lock me down right now. Fire at this guy over there, and I was suppressed. I mean, he wasn't able to suppress me, but he did suppress me now that my shield was taken down by too many people. Fire, and boom, boom. Nice. Still, I need to take more damage, ladies and gentlemen. You could help me with that. And there you go, lockdown and suppression, and that's it for you. Boom. So the Nightingale is gonna fly any moment now. Fire at this guy over there, and boom, boom, nice. The the done time. There we go. And yeah, so jumping into yet another match. This time we're choosing Beacon Rush. It's gonna be a bit more dangerous because enemies can spawn very close to us. Sorry, Crash again, can't show you the stats. Alright, so there we are on Rome. A really good map for Vortex, because there are buildings that people hide behind or think they are safe, and then boom, they notice they're not. So let's get this show on the road. We have some Ravenas with us, which is good. That means we're having some people here that don't die very quickly. Enemy Ravena is there too. Maybe I can catch him when he doesn't expect a hit coming in. Fire, and nah, he was just, I think he just had his ability running. An enemy server was also coming, that's cool. This guy's locked and suppressed, and boom, boom. Very, very large hit against him here. He's even having last stand already running. Okay, and now he is coming. Fire. And he's coming still. Okay, here we go with this, and boom. Almost took down this guy. We have an enemy right behind us, which is very problematic. Yep, we have 2 enemies behind us. And there we go. That's it. Alright, but that's not too problematic. We still have a second one. And this is why I packed a second one, because sometimes that is going to happen. Boom, boom. Okay, good hit. He's face shifting. It's a Max Ultra Meta Uber player. And boom. Down to last stand with this guy. Okay, these guys done. This guy's doing this again, and boom. Now that he comes out of that, we have him. So, and he spawns in another Ravana. And boom, boom. I got him super well hit right there. He actually meant to do more with his Ravana, but... Okay. Down to last stand with him. Now he's face shifting too late, and the thing is, you can have so much alpha damage with this that every time they think they're safe, they're not safe, and they just take a massive hit. Okay, we can now do the increased damage, which is awesome. Got him. Okay, my rockets came in a little bit too late, unfortunately. Enemies controlling most of the beacons here. That Leo just died really quickly. Yeah, you're not really doing much damage there, buddy. Got you locked and suppressed. And you're even taking damage from that. Alright, good. Now we have an Ao Chun spawning in from the side. Not really doing much damage to us, though. Fire and boom, boom. Titan got a big hit. Yep, good. I'm now doing double damage. And boom, boom. Vortex did the thing. And locked and suppressed. Nope, he lagged in this moment. This is just out of control with the lagging thing just. And boom, boom. Again, we just couldn't hit him, really. Again, it's not possible to hit him. It's not possible because the frickin' lags. And boom. Sniper Fury done.
I'm Cabot Phillips with Campus Reform. I'm joined now by Gabriel Nadales of the Leadership Institute. Gabe, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Want to talk to you about your transformation, going from a radical leftist member of Antifa to now a free speech advocate, someone that's on college campuses defending students' constitutional rights on a daily basis. So I think it's important for us to start at the beginning.
Sure.
Your political involvement, what got you involved in politics and led up to you coming to that place in life?
Well, you know, before we start that, I really think it's important to mention what Antifa is. Antifa is not an organization, so a lot of people think it's this group that has meetings. No. Antifa is made up of a lot of different organizations, and Antifa is more of a rally cry. The black mask is more of a uniform where you have a goal and you try to enact it as a group. So unfortunately, what you're left with is a mob mentality. And how did I get involved in politics? It was way back in 2009 when Governor Schwarzenegger was cutting the arts and was cutting funding for schools. And I thought that I should do something about that because I didn't want to have my favorite teacher get fired. That's really how it started. But honestly, my radical activism didn't start until 2010 when I refused to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Why was that? Why didn't you stand for the pledge? What was going through your head?
At the time, I remember that I didn't believe in America, and I believed that it was basically a fascist nation. So I didn't want to literally be forced to stand up for something I didn't believe. And of course, I got in trouble, but I used the Constitution, which is ironic, to get away with it.
Yeah. And so what were your main grievances with the United States? You didn't stand for the pledge. Were you being edgy, or was it actually substantive if you said, I don't believe in America, all of these things? What were your grievances?
Well, at the time, I remember that there was a lot of government bailouts of banks, and I thought that that was a problem with capitalism. I didn't understand that that was a form of cronyism, and it was actually a government's fault, not capitalism. And on top of that, there was a lot of other things that we were going to war, and I heard all this propaganda about how we were just invading a bunch of different countries for oil, which is all propaganda now I see. And it's just been a lot of different things. Yeah. At the time, it was more of things that were out there for me, but it wasn't a defining ideology.
Yeah, so some people would say it's radical not to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, but that's not as radical as actually going out and joining a group like Antifa. So what led up to that specific involvement?
So I remember the first time I went to a rally was actually against neo-Nazis. I remember in 2010 they attended Claremont, and I went there with a friend, and that's how it started. I started going to more and more protests and more marches. At some point I even organized some of them. Not organized them as like the whole, but I organized to have a presence there with a lot of people involved. Yeah. So I would recruit people, I would call them and say, hey, who can make it? How do we get there? Who can pay for gas? Who has a car? All these different details. I was definitely organizing a lot of activists on the left at the time.
And so it started with a protest that a lot of people can get behind, of something protesting legitimate neo-Nazis. Yeah. And then you talk about how it transitions into protesting so many different people and giving them that label of Nazi, calling everyone a fascist, calling everyone a Nazi, even when they aren't. What was that transition?
See, the problem, it was very easy for me to go up to somebody holding a swastika and yell at them. Incredibly simple. But then after, when we went to other protests and we did other things, I was just told they're the same. They try to equate some people who were peaceful people, who we just had disagreements with, and there's neo-Nazis. So it was more of a transition. Now, if you had told me to go yell at the people who are peaceful, I would have been like, no, I wouldn't do it. But there was a transition that we try to equate everybody in the same boat as these other hateful people.
Yeah, I think that's a tactic that's still being used right now on the far left, of saying, okay, if we can get everyone to agree that Nazis are bad, far left or crazy far right radicals are bad, fascists are bad. Okay, we all agree on that? Yep. Great. Now all we have to do is expand the definition of what we label those things.
It is, and it's really easy. I remember, as a matter of fact, when I was a conservative. I was at California State University of Los Angeles, and it was near a riot when Ben Shapiro spoke. And I remember talking to a few students out there. As a person of color, I can get away with talking to the left. I'd still do that routinely just to hear what they had to say. There was this girl there, and she was a student, and she told me that Ben Shapiro was a neo-Nazi, and that he hated black people and he hated Jews. And I'm like, he's Jewish. And this is the mentality that Antifa and all these organizations have. It's not just that you disagree with them, it's that they are the most hateful person that you can probably think of. And this is why we should protest against them.
Yeah, and so you started organizing protests, organizing riots, whatever you want to call them. What was your experience like behind the mask? So you're masking up. We see pictures. We have some pictures here on the screen of your involvement. What was going through your head when you were looking out at the other side, and what was your goal?
It really depends what the protest was for. I mean, but it's either to shut them down or to drive them out of the city or to